Karen assaulted a disabled black elderly woman, but just minutes later, her FBI son walked in with shocking justice. What happened inside that room will leave you speechless. But before we dive in, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you love powerful, suspenseful stories like this one, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a moment. Morning rested soft on Sycamore Court. Sprinklers ticked. Evelyn Brooks eased her door shut, checked the latch, and set her weight on a steel cane. 77, deliberate. She stepped into the light with the dignity of someone who had learned to make time move at her speed. Her tote held a pill case, a water bottle, a coin purse, and a folded card with her son's number. Special Agent Jordan Brooks texted each day before sunrise. Morning, Ma, hydrate, stretch, call me after breakfast. She'd reply after mail, a small ritual. He was careful with words, patient with facts, and stubborn about promises. She trusted his steadiness the way sailors trust a lighthouse. At the community boxes, she paused for breath, then smiled at a young father steering a stroller. Good morning, she said. A compact SUV pulled in tight to the curb. The door swung open, and out came Karen Whitfield in pressed khaki shorts and sunglasses that turned her eyes into mirrors. She ignored the light and stroller. She saw a blue slip tucked in box 12, Evelyn's, and felt the old heat rise, the insult of last winter's HOA fine turning like a key. You're blocking the walkway, Karen said. Evelyn shifted. I'll be quick, dear. Don't call me dear. Karen's voice carried the bright edge of someone who wants an audience. Some people here think rules only apply to other people. Rules should keep neighbors safe, Evelyn said, opening her box, not keep them small. Karen stepped closer, crowding the rail. Her sunglasses mirrored Evelyn's careful face. I have asked for months for people to stop leaving clutter, Karen said. I have asked for timely pickups. I have asked for standards. I am ignored. You are being heard, Evelyn said. She took 2 letters and a pharmacy flyer. I hear you. I want action, Karen snapped. A teen on a scooter watched. The young father's hands tightened. Mrs. Alvarez held a hose. Even the dog at Unit 3 fell silent. Karen grabbed Evelyn's tote strap. It slipped from her shoulder. Mail spilled like white leaves. A stamp stuck to the concrete like a small wound. The cane skittered, clanked, and fell. Please don't, Evelyn said, breath halting. You always need special treatment, Karen said. I'm done watching the bar drop. The maintenance cart sat open near the hedge. A coil of neon rope hung from a peg, bright as warning tape. Karen took the rope, stepped back, and looped it around Evelyn's wrists with hurried, searching hands. The teen raised his phone. I'm calling security, he said. Do it, Mrs. Alvarez said, dialing. She stepped toward Evelyn, hand out. Karen, stop. She's recovering. Everyone says I'm overreacting, Karen said, pulling the knot hard. When someone gets hurt because of leniency, do they blame you? No, they blame me. You're hurting her now, the father said quietly. He eased the stroller away. He whispered to the baby without thinking. It's okay. Karen tugged the rope and steered Evelyn across the pavement toward the maintenance shed. The door stuck. She shoved. The room smelled of fertilizer and gasoline. A leaf blower leaned like a sleeping guard. Karen pushed Evelyn onto an upside-down bucket and looped the rope around a support post, pulling it tight. Look at me, Karen said. Tell me I'm right. Evelyn lifted her face. I can say you're afraid, she answered, but I won't say you're right. The slap came fast. A small, sharp sound. The bucket rocked. Dust drifted in a single ray of sun. Outside, the maintenance man rattled the handle. Open the door, he called. Let's slow this down. Back off, Karen said, grabbing the blower and pointing the nozzle like a threat she didn't understand. Her hand trembled. I'm correcting a pattern. Mrs. Alvarez's voice pressed through the wood. Evelyn, I'm calling Jordan. Weeks earlier, Evelyn had given Mrs. Alvarez his card. Evelyn closed her eyes and found the rhythm that had carried her through dark nights. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Her knee ached, her shoulder tingled, yet a small core of calm held. The breath brought back her hands. They tingled under the rope. Karen, she said, placing each word like stepping stones across floodwater. You can choose a different ending to this minute. Karen paced the narrow aisle, shouldering a bag of peat moss with each turn. Every time I choose grace, people take advantage, she said. Then they smirk when things break. Grace isn't letting things slide, Evelyn said. It's refusing to become what you hate. What do you know about what I hate? Karen's voice cracked, then hardened. You don't know what I carry. I know you're carrying it alone, Evelyn replied. Footsteps thudded outside. Radio static brushed the air. The maintenance man tried again, softer. People are filming. Help is on the way. Don't add charges you can't shake. Karen stared at the blower, at the rope, at the gray thread of hair fallen across Evelyn's brow like a crescent. For an instant, a door in her expression opened. She closed it, dragged the blower aside, and hauled the shed door wide. Sun crashed into the dim. She pulled Evelyn back across the lot. They cut through the lounge, past a bulletin board of recipes and group dates, into a storage room stacked with plastic pumpkins and tubs of ribbon. Karen tied Evelyn's wrists higher on a shelf bracket until her shoulders burned. "My name is Evelyn," she said gently. "I taught first grade. I still tutor on Tuesdays. I bake bread for the church when my hands allow. My son sends me a message every morning. I'd like to answer him." Karen stood very still, as if she might break if she moved. Then footsteps filled the hall. Voices layered of firm, cautious, trained. The metal of the latch clicked once, paused, clicked again. A doorknob turned. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see which story this would become now. The hallway outside the storage room hummed with tension. Voices low, steady, professional drifted in through the door crack. Evelyn's chest rose and fell in quiet rhythm, but her wrists burned under the rope's bite. She prayed silently for strength, for clarity, for mercy. Karen, pacing in the dim light, froze at the sound of boots shifting. The weight of her own choices pressed in on her, but pride braced her spine. She turned, meeting Evelyn's calm eyes, and for a heartbeat the mask of anger faltered. "You think they'll rush in here and crown you saint?" Karen hissed. "You think your pity face wins every time? No, today it won't." Evelyn spoke softly as though reading to a restless child. "Karen, I don't need a crown. I just need to go home. And you need to stop before the road gets darker." The knob turned again. This time, a voice spoke through the wood, calm yet commanding. "Karen Whitfield, my name is Special Agent Jordan Brooks. I'm with the FBI, and I'm also Evelyn's son. Open the door." The words struck like thunder. Evelyn closed her eyes, relief spilling hot as tears down her cheeks. She whispered, "Jordan." Karen's breath caught. The rope in her hand slipped slightly. "Your son?" she asked, suspicion layering over fear. "Yes," Evelyn said, her voice steady now. "He's my son, and he's here because people love me. You don't have to end this the wrong way." Karen spun to the door, panic flashing across her features. "He'll storm in, guns drawn, and paint me as some monster. That's what always happens. I become the headline, the lesson, the shame." Jordan's voice cut through, patient but firm. "Karen, nobody has to be hurt. Open the door. We'll listen. You want to be heard? I'm listening." Inside, Karen's hand shook. She gripped the blower again, clutching it like a lifeline, though she knew it wasn't a weapon. She turned back toward Evelyn. "Why didn't you tell me that your son was—" "Because it shouldn't matter," Evelyn answered. "I deserve safety whether my son wears a badge or not." The rope dug deeper into Evelyn's wrists as Karen tugged, more out of nervous energy than malice. Evelyn winced but refused to look away. Their eyes locked, one pleading, the other trembling under the weight of choices made. Outside, the officers shifted, whispering strategies. Jordan raised a hand, silencing them. His presence filled the corridor, not with noise but with authority that made even silence obey. "Karen," Jordan said, his voice lowering, coaxing. "You're afraid. I can hear it. You don't trust anyone to treat you fairly. But right now, fairness comes if you stop. My mother's strong, but she's hurting. Let me help both of you." Karen swallowed. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Every word pressed her toward a decision she wasn't ready to make. She glanced at Evelyn, whose calm presence gnawed at her defenses. "You pray for me," Karen muttered, almost mocking, almost yearning. "I am," Evelyn whispered, voice breaking with compassion. "Even now." Karen turned sharply, slamming her fist against a box. Ornaments rattled inside. "I don't want your pity prayers," she cried, though her voice trembled with something softer. "Regret, maybe." The door jolted, a warning that the officers were ready to force entry if needed. Jordan's tone sharpened, still controlled. "Karen, you're out of time. Don't let this end with regret you can never erase. Step away from her. Now." Evelyn inhaled slowly, watching Karen's shoulders quake under the weight of the moment. She could see the war inside the woman, the desperate need to prove herself, the fear of collapse, the hidden cry for release. The silence that followed felt like the edge of a cliff. The storage room felt like it was shrinking. Cardboard boxes pressed against one another, old decorations crowding the corners, and dust particles floated in the thin strip of sunlight that forced its way in through a tiny crack in the window. Evelyn's breathing was steady but shallow, each inhale deliberate, each exhale quiet, like she was willing herself to hold her body together. Her wrists were raw, the rope biting into her fragile skin, yet her eyes, though tired, were gentle, unflinching. Karen kept pacing, the leaf blower clutched awkwardly in her hand. It wasn't a weapon, not really, but in her trembling grip she seemed to draw power from the illusion that it was. Her shoes tapped against the concrete floor, a rhythm that betrayed her agitation. She stopped suddenly, glaring at Evelyn. "You don't understand what it's like to always be invisible," Karen muttered. "You don't understand what it feels like to fight and still be ignored." Evelyn tilted her head slightly, her voice low, almost maternal. "Oh, but I do, Karen. I've lived 77 years in a world that didn't always see me either. A world that told me again and again I wasn't worth the same as others. I know what it is to be ignored." Karen blinked, her lips parting as though the words had pierced a place she hadn't expected. But she quickly shook it off, gripping the blower tighter. "No," she snapped. "You get sympathy. Everyone here rushes to help you. You don't pay the same price I pay." The voices outside shifted again. The officers were closer now, murmuring, but one voice cut through like a bell. Steady, commanding, filled with restrained urgency. "Karen Whitfield," Jordan called. "This doesn't have to go any further. My name is Special Agent Jordan Brooks. I'm not here to attack you. I'm here for my mother. Open this door and we'll talk." Evelyn's lips trembled at the sound of her son's voice. Her eyes glistened, and she whispered his name like a prayer. "Jordan." Karen's head whipped around, her eyes wide. "Your son is an FBI agent." Her tone was sharp, but beneath it lay something more fragile. Shock, maybe even fear. "Yes," Evelyn said softly, "and he came because people care. Because when something is wrong, it doesn't stay hidden forever." Karen shook her head violently, her voice rising. "No, no, no, no. That's not how this works. When people like me speak up, they call us crazy, hysterical, out of control. And when people like you get hurt, the world stops to listen. I can't be the villain again. I won't." Jordan's voice pressed through the wood, patient, coaxing. "Karen, I'm listening now. You feel invisible. I see you. You feel unheard. I hear you. But this tying up a 77-year-old woman, threatening her, that won't make your pain matter more. It'll erase your chance to be understood." Karen's jaw clenched. She lifted the blower as though daring Evelyn to deny her pain. "And what do you say, huh? That I'm just angry for no reason? That I'm cruel?" Evelyn swallowed, her voice breaking but steady with conviction. "I say you're hurting. I say you're drowning in something bigger than you, and you think hurting me will keep you afloat. But it won't, Karen. It will drag you under." The room went still. Karen's arm wavered. The blower sagged an inch. For the first time since she stormed into the shed, her eyes glistened, not with fury, but with the beginnings of tears. She blinked fast, furious at the betrayal of her own body. Outside, boots shuffled, radios crackled. The officers were growing restless, sensing the thinness of the line holding this moment together. Jordan raised his voice, sharp but calm. "Karen, you have one chance to step back. Don't let this end with violence. Don't let this moment define you forever." Karen spun toward the door, panic flashing across her face. "He'll storm in," she muttered, almost to herself. "He'll storm in, and I'll be another headline. Crazy woman loses control. I'll lose everything." Evelyn leaned forward despite the rope pulling at her shoulders, her voice urgent, trembling. "You can change the headline, Karen. Right here, right now. You can choose to be the woman who stopped before it was too late." Karen stared at her, chest heaving. Her knuckles whitened around the rope. Then slowly, she looked at the crack in the door, where Jordan's shadow stood waiting. The weight of the moment pressed in on her from both sides, fear and hope, destruction and mercy. For a long, endless second, the room was silent, no sound but the shallow breaths of two women, one bound, one breaking. Then from outside, Jordan spoke again, his voice deeper, carrying the full gravity of his role as both agent and son. "Karen, step away from my mother, or I will come through that door." The ultimatum hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Karen's fingers twitched, Evelyn's heart pounded. The rope bit deeper into her wrists as she held her breath, waiting to see whether mercy or madness would win. And then, silence, heavier than any noise. The silence after Jordan's ultimatum felt alive, stretching across the walls like a shadow no one dared disturb. Dust still floated in the narrow sunlight, and Evelyn's pulse thudded in her ears. Her wrists ached, her shoulders trembled, but her voice, the voice that had read stories to children for decades, was steady as she whispered, "You don't have to let fear win, Karen." Karen's hand hovered over the rope, trembling. Sweat pooled at her temples. "You don't understand," she muttered. "If I let go, I lose everything. If I stop, they'll see me as weak. They always do." "Karen." Jordan's voice pushed through the door, calm but commanding. "Strength isn't in how long you hold someone down. It's in how fast you stop yourself before you destroy everything." Inside the room, Karen's breathing grew ragged, like she was running out of air. She stepped back, pacing, her sneakers scuffing against the concrete. "I was supposed to be someone," she said bitterly. But no matter what I did, what rules I followed, they always found a way to tear me down. You don't know what that's like. Evelyn winced as the rope pulled tighter against her raw skin. I know what it is to be dismissed, she said softly. I know what it is to wake up every day in a world that thinks less of you. But I learned that hurting others doesn't heal the wound, it makes it deeper. Karen froze, her eyes snapping to Evelyn. Don't preach to me, she shouted, though her voice cracked with something closer to desperation than rage. Outside, an officer shifted too close to the door. The floor creaked. Karen's head jerked toward the sound, her panic spiking. They're going to break in, she screamed. I'll be dragged out, humiliated on every phone camera in this neighborhood. Jordan stepped forward, his shadow growing longer across the crack in the door. Not if you choose now, he said firmly. You want respect? Choose mercy. Choose control. Show them you're stronger than this moment. Karen's grip faltered on the rope, but her pride roared louder than her fear. She shook her head violently. They'll never see me as anything but a monster. Evelyn's voice trembled but pressed on, gentle and relentless. Then be the woman who proved them wrong. Be the woman who stopped before the worst could happen. You can still write a different ending. Karen's hands shook violently now. She dropped the leaf blower, the plastic clattering against the floor. The sound rang through the small room like a gunshot, making everyone outside stiffen. Karen? Jordan's voice was sharp, urgent. Karen pressed her palms against her ears, squeezing her eyes shut. I can't. The officers outside exchanged looks. One reached for the battering ram. Jordan lifted a hand, stopping him. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. You can, Karen, but the choice is shrinking. Every second you wait, it slips further away. Inside, Evelyn whispered through her pain. Karen, listen to me. I forgive you. Right here, right now, I forgive you. The words hit Karen harder than any command. Her eyes flew open, glassy with unshed tears. Why would you forgive me? She choked. After what I've done to you. Because someone has to break the cycle, Evelyn said simply. And if it has to be me, then so be it. Karen's chest rose and fell in jagged waves. She stepped closer, her trembling fingers grazing the rope. For a moment it seemed she might loosen it. Evelyn held her breath, praying silently. But just then, a neighbor's voice shouted from the hallway, cutting through the fragile moment. We've got the police here. She's inside with the old lady. Karen's entire body stiffened. Her eyes widened, fury and fear colliding. They're turning me into a spectacle, she shrieked. She yanked the rope harder, making Evelyn cry out in pain. Stop, Jordan's voice thundered, sharper than before. Karen, step away from her now. Karen staggered back, wild-eyed. Her chest heaved as she looked from Evelyn's anguished face to the door where shadows loomed. Her world tilted, cornered, exposed, drowning in the weight of her own unraveling choices. She backed against the wall, her hands clawing at her scalp as though she could tear out the noise in her mind. I didn't mean to, she gasped. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Then end it here, Jordan said firmly, his voice a lifeline stretched taut through the air. End it before it takes you to a place you can't return from. The officers outside shifted again, tension bleeding through the thin barrier of the door. Jordan's hand rested on the knob, steady, waiting. Inside, Evelyn forced herself to speak past the pain, her voice breaking but resolute. Karen, if you don't stop, this will become the moment that defines you forever. Don't let anger write your story. Karen's face crumpled, her shoulders shook. For the first time, she looked less like an aggressor and more like a woman drowning in her own wounds. She reached out with trembling fingers toward the knot in the rope, then froze again, paralyzed by indecision. The moment teetered on the edge of collapse. Karen's fingers hovered above the knot. Her breath skittered. Evelyn met her eyes, steady despite the sting in her wrists. Karen, Jordan called, calm. Crack the door 2 inches. No one will rush you. I'm here. You'll swarm me, she said. One wrong word and I'm tackled. I'm instructing everyone to hold, Jordan replied. 2 inches. You set the pace. A pause, a click, a sliver of light. Jordan angled so his face filled the gap, palms open. I'm Jordan. I'm her son. My mother's wrists are high. Circulation could be compromised. Let me check her hands. Karen stared through the slice of light. His calm reflected her shaking. Clear the hall, she said. No cameras. Phones down, Jordan said. I'll step back 3 strides. You open. I enter alone. Gun? She asked. No gun in my hands. He set his holster on a table visible through the crack, laid his badge beside it, raised empty hands. Then the door eased wider. Jordan moved in, unhurried, and latched it softly. The rope ran from Karen's fists to a bracket holding Evelyn's arms high. Ma, Jordan said. Rate your pain. Manageable, she whispered, but burning. He nodded. Then to Karen. We'll lower her wrist 6 inches. Together, on my count. If I loosen, she'll run. She can't run, Evelyn said. My knee wouldn't let me. 3 slow breaths, Jordan said. In, hold, out. He matched her until her shoulders dropped. Now, 1 inch. He guided with words, never touching the rope. Blood returned to Evelyn's fingers in a slow, painful bloom. A neighbor muttered outside. Karen flinched. The rope snapped taut. Evelyn bit back a cry. Jordan kept his eyes on Karen. You're doing something hard. Don't let their noise steal it. Tears glazed Karen's eyes. She hid them with a scowl. You don't know what they've done to me, she said. I reported busted lights, stray dogs, leaks. They laughed. Find me for a 2-hour miss. My father's in hospice. My husband left in May. Every email feels like a threat. I'm tired of swallowing it. I hear you, Jordan said. I won't debate your pain. I will insist we don't pass it forward. He nodded at the rope. Another inch. They lowered together. Evelyn exhaled. Thank you, she whispered, honoring the inch. A radio crackled. News van at the front gate. Karen heard it. Panic flashed. They'll turn me into a meme, she said. A villain on loop. People outside don't decide who you are, Jordan said. Right now, that's you. Something shifted high on the shelving. A plastic tub labeled Winter. The bracket groaned. Jordan's eyes flicked up. That shelf isn't anchored, he said evenly. Step left. If it falls, it misses you and my mother. Karen looked up, fear widening her face. She moved left. The tub stilled, then wobbled as a compressor kicked on somewhere, shivering the wall. Another inch, Jordan said, tethering her attention. Then water, then a chair. Down the corridor, a new voice rose. Property manager, let me through. The latch jiggled. Jordan's jaw set. Hold the door, he called. Do not enter. The jiggle stopped, then resumed. They don't listen, Karen said, retreating to the old wire. I say wait, they push anyway. Jordan stepped a half-pace closer, empty hands visible. Look at me. Years ago I entered a kitchen where a man held a bottle like a knife. I talked him down, but when a neighbor burst in, he panicked. We lost control. Help me keep control now. Her gaze fixed on his. The jitters softened. Water, she whispered, like a truce word. Good, he said. Sealed case by your left foot. He nodded to a crate. Slide one to her lips. Slowly. Karen crouched, tore plastic, twisted a cap. Evelyn swallowed small sips, breathed gratitude. The latch jiggled again. Harder. Open this door, the manager barked. Jordan didn't turn. Do not open, he ordered. Negotiation in progress. A metallic clank followed, the master key in the lock. The tub above shivered. Dust sprinkled the air. Evelyn's gaze flicked up. Karen stepped back to the rope, hands tightening. Let me see your hands, Jordan said, gentle. Not to take anything, just hands. Karen lifted them away from the rope for a breath, fingers spread, then seized it again. If I let go, they'll rush me. They won't, he said, eyes never leaving hers. You're steering this. He angled toward Evelyn's fingertips without stepping closer. Capillary refill looks slow. We need more slack. Evelyn flexed, testing feeling, then stilled. She didn't speak the fear that pulsed behind her calm. She fixed on Jordan's voice and floated there. Microstep, Jordan said. Half an inch. On 3. He counted. Karen eased. Color crept back into Evelyn's nails. Good, he murmured. That's control. Karen blinked. Control, she repeated, as if tasting a word she hadn't owned in months. Jordan used it. Name one thing you controlled this week. I fixed the leak under my sink, she said. Watched a video. Bought the right washer. It held. That's skill, Jordan said. Same muscles now. He gestured open. Another half. Footsteps scuffed outside. A radio hissed. Copy HOA board on site, someone whispered. Karen's face collapsed. They hate me, she said. They'll pile on. You're not with them, Jordan said. You're with me and Evelyn in this room. 3 people, 1 problem. He glanced at Evelyn's hands again. Numbness? Tingling, she said. Better than before. Chair, Jordan said. There's one folded behind the ribbons. We'll lower, then seat her. Karen hesitated. If she sits, she'll run. She'll sit, Evelyn said. I give you my word. Karen swallowed, nodded once, and reached for the chair. Stay with me, Jordan said through the rising noise. Count with me. 1, Karen whispered. 2, Jordan said. 3, Evelyn breathed. The key turned. The latch gave. The door began to swing inward against Jordan's shoulder. The bracket screamed. The tub tipped. The shelf lurched. Karen, Jordan said. Command and plea braided into one breath. Move now, please. The storage room convulsed with chaos. The shelf groaned. The tub of decorations toppled. And the door swung open as the property manager shoved his way in. A chorus of voices surged behind him. Police radios hissing, neighbors murmuring, phones raised like weapons of their own. Karen's eyes went wide, her world collapsing in one instant. She lunged for the rope, jerking it tighter in blind panic. Evelyn cried out, her shoulders screaming under the strain. "Stop," Jordan roared, his voice cutting through the uproar like a blade. In a single motion, he shoved the door back with his shoulder, pinning the manager out, and moved toward his mother. "Karen, look at me." Karen froze, her hands white-knuckled around the rope. Her chest heaved, her eyes darting between Jordan, the wobbling shelf, and Evelyn's trembling body. "You wanted control," Jordan said, his tone sharp, surgical. "This is your last chance to have it. You let go now, or you lose everything." The tub above gave way. Jordan lunged, shoving Evelyn's body to the side, just as a cascade of plastic snowmen and tangled Christmas lights crashed down where she'd been. Evelyn gasped, safe, but still bound. Karen staggered back, shrieking, "They'll never forgive me now." She pressed against the wall, hands clawing at her own hair. Jordan moved fast, slipping his mother free with one swift tug on the rope knot. Evelyn collapsed into the chair Karen had dragged out earlier, her breath ragged but steady. Then Jordan turned to Karen. His frame filled the room, the calm mask stripped from his face. The FBI agent stood in full. "You tied, humiliated, and struck a disabled 77-year-old woman," he said, his voice thunder and judgment all at once. "And that woman is my mother." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came. Her body sagged, as if the truth itself had taken the strength from her legs. Jordan drew his cuffs from his belt, snapping them open with practiced ease. "Karen Whitfield, you are under arrest for assault, unlawful restraint, and elder abuse." Karen let out a strangled sob. "Please, please, I didn't mean for it to enough," Jordan cut her off. His hands moved with precision, steel closing around her trembling wrists. "You made choices, and now you face justice." The door pushed open again, this time controlled, as officers entered with cameras off and body cams glowing. They took Karen from Jordan's hands. She sagged between them, still murmuring broken phrases, still fighting ghosts no one could see. Neighbors watched in silence as she was led down the corridor. The woman who had always demanded to be noticed was finally the center of attention, but not the way she wanted. Jordan knelt by his mother, his hand gentle on hers. "Mom, I've got you." Evelyn managed a weak smile through her tears. "I knew you'd come." He swallowed hard, steadying his voice. "Always." The officers guided Karen out the front doors, the flashing lights of patrol cars painting the street in red and blue. Her cries carried into the night air, swallowed by the sirens. Inside, Jordan wrapped his mother's shoulders in his jacket. She leaned against him, exhausted but unbroken. "You showed her mercy," he whispered, "even when she gave you none." "That's the only way," Evelyn said softly. "If anger writes the story, no one wins." Jordan nodded, his jaw tight. He rose, towering, and led her past the scattered decorations and the lingering smell of dust. Outside, neighbors lowered their phones, shame creeping into their eyes. They had come for spectacle. Instead, they had witnessed something deeper. Justice, carried not only in cuffs and badges, but in dignity and restraint. As the squad car pulled away with Karen inside, Evelyn and Jordan stood together under the cold wash of streetlight. Mother and son wounded, tested, but unshaken. The shocking justice had come, not only in the arrest, but in the unbroken spirit of the woman Karen had tried to crush, and the unrelenting strength of the son who would never let her stand alone.